Namaskar. I welcome all of you for this online CTET training program. And in this session, we are continuing our part 2 of microorganisms chapter. So previously we just covered part 1 of microorganisms where we studied about or we discussed about classification and the useful microorganisms, the different microorganisms, how they are useful. And we also focused on the scientists and their discoveries with respect to microorganisms. So major focus there was completely factual and memory based. The questions that were asked were mostly facts, fact based and memory based. Even in this session also, we'll be discussing those concepts from which CTET was asking mostly the factual level of questions, that is memory level of questions. So most of the things we have to remember before going to examination. So that is what about this session is. So this is paper 2 from science. So we are going to discuss about harmful microorganisms and how they are harmful, what kind of diseases they cause, what kind of diseases that are caused in plants, what kind of diseases that are caused in animals. Okay, these things will be focusing more. So first we'll see where CTET is majorly focusing, what are the concepts they are covering and where they are covering specifically in those concepts. And let us see the content that is very relevant. Again, we'll be discussing more with respect to the factual content that is necessary in this subtopic. Then we'll solve previous year questions based on those factual concepts. So where exactly CTET was focusing more with respect to the harmful microorganisms is diseases. Okay, so there are different kinds of diseases, different microorganisms there that cause different kinds of diseases, how they are caused, which organism causes. All these are important in this. And again, disease vectors. Vectors are those organisms which carry a certain type of pathogen. Pathogen is the microorganism that causes a disease. So these microorganisms will be carried by some organisms like fruit fly, then house fly, then mosquito. So all these are carriers of certain pathogens which cause diseases among human beings. So we'll discuss about that also. And communicable and non-communicable diseases. So different types of diseases. Some are communicable, some are not communicable. So what kind of diseases are caused by microorganisms? That is also one thing. So it is communicable diseases that are caused by microorganisms. Why we'll look into the slides. The plant diseases. So among these subtopics here, so the majorly asked and repeatedly asked questions are from the malaria disease. So is malaria caused by a bacteria or a virus? What is the vector for malaria? Who carries the pathogen of malaria? These were the questions mostly repeatedly asked. Okay, then so mosquitoes, again in mosquitoes, which mosquito? The names of mosquitoes are also being asked because malaria is the mosquito that carries malaria pathogen is different from the mosquito. The pathogen that is carried by another mosquito. So that is one thing. And regarding pasteurization, there are few questions with respect to how food can be start from spoiling. So let us move forward. So as I said, mostly in this session, the concepts are factual in nature and from the perspective of CTET. So the factual and memory level of questions will be asked. Mostly we have to remember the names of microorganisms and the diseases that they cause. So much of the concept explanation won't be there. So I'll just tell you the microorganisms and the diseases that they'll be causing, and also we'll discuss different carriers and what they carry, and communicable diseases, which are the communicable diseases, which are non-communicable diseases. And also we'll be discussing, we'll be trying to list what are bacterial diseases, what are viral diseases, okay, what are protozoan diseases. So these are also factual level and memory level of questions which will be frequently appearing in the CTET examination. So first let us see the causes and type. Okay, the types of diseases based on the microorganism that is causing. So bacterial diseases, viral diseases, protozoan diseases, and there are non-communicable diseases here. We'll discuss about them little later. So bacterial diseases, what are the bacterial diseases? So these we have to remember. We should know which disease is caused by which organism. So there are diseases here like tuberculosis, cholera, typhoid, okay, pneumonia. So all these are bacterial diseases. These diseases are caused by bacteria. So enough questions were seen in the previous year question papers that they will be giving certain disease in the question, and they will be asking us to identify the causative organism from the given options, or else they will give the organism first, then they will be asking the diseases to identify which disease will be caused by in the organism that is given in the statement. So these kind of questions are more with respect to this subtopic. Then what about viral diseases? So, and the diseases that are mentioned here are again like mostly repeated diseases only mentioned here. Not all those diseases that are caused by bacteria. Bacteria causes, there are a lot of bacteria that cause very, the varied and different diseases. But here we are focusing on tuberculosis, cholera, typhoid, pneumonia, which are very commonly, commonly these diseases will be, appearing in the, humans. So only those we are, we are selected here. Then viral diseases. So what are viral diseases? Measles, chickenpox, polio, hepatitis B, dengue, flu, common cold, COVID-19. So all these are viral diseases. So these diseases are caused by virus. Then what about protozoa? So protozoa means definitely remember it is malaria. So whenever, mostly if a question comes from protozoan diseases or malaria, it is like protozoa that is caused by malaria. Sorry, protozoa causes malaria, which is the vector that is that causes, it is female Anopheles mosquito. Okay, so specifically what is the mosquito name? It is female Anopheles mosquito that causes malaria. Okay, so it is protozoan. So which protozoan? Plasmodium. Okay, so plasmodium is a type of protozoan which causes the malaria in human beings and which is carried by the female Anopheles mosquito. So apart from these non-communicable diseases are given here for your reference. So you can just see diabetes, anemia, scurvy, cancer, hypertension. Okay, all these are caused by the lifestyle or deficiency of certain hormones. Okay, not microbes. So non-communicable diseases are those diseases which are caused by hormonal deficiencies and lifestyle disorders, not from microbes. Only communicable diseases, okay, are those which will be caused by microorganisms, and these communicable diseases will transfer or spread from one person to other person. So diseases and vectors, okay, who carries what, which organism carries which pathogen. Okay, with respect to malaria, very important as we discussed. So it is female Anopheles mosquito. Okay, female Anopheles mosquito. So you have to remember this name because questions on malaria are more, repeatedly asked. So female Anopheles mosquito, is the carrier as a vector for malaria. But what is the actual pathogen that causes? What is the actual microorganism that causes malaria? It is Plasmodium. What is it? It is it is protozoa. Protozoa is a type of microorganism. So that causes malaria. Very important from CTET perspective. Next, dengue. Okay, dengue is caused by virus and it has female Aedes mosquito as carrier. Okay, it is female Aedes which carries the dengue virus. Okay, so Aedes mosquito, and yeah, so it's it will be present in wherever the like unhygienic places, the female Aedes mosquito will be present. Then houseflies are also carriers. Okay, so what they carry? Cholera and typhoid bacteria they carry. Okay, so mostly we will be getting cholera and typhoid due to contamination of food and water. So this contamination of food and water might be happening because of the housefly, because it directly doesn't cause cholera and typhoid. It will carry the bacteria to the food and water, and it contaminates. And when we take that food, we will be affected with cholera and typhoid. Okay, so contaminated food and water causes typhoid and cholera, because this contaminated with the bacteria that causes cholera and typhoid. So house fly is the carrier. So it is not a biting vector. Okay, so what are the biting vectors? Biting vectors are the mosquitoes. When they bite, so the pathogen enters our body and we start getting the symptoms of that. So communicable and non-communicable diseases, the references we just now discussed. So what are communicable? They're infectious diseases. So they get infected, communicable diseases are caused by microorganisms. Whereas here, no microorganisms. Okay, these are caused due to lifestyle or deficiency of the hormones. In the previous sessions, we discussed about endocrine system. We discussed about various hormones produced by glands. So if there is a deficiency or if there is excess secretion of hormones, so we discussed that there will be disorders that will be there in human beings. So these diseases are caused by these reasons, whereas communicable diseases are caused by the pathogens, the microorganisms. So these are caused by bacteria, viruses and protozoans. So they spread from person to person via person directly or by vector. So by vector also they can they can spread from person to person, and vectors can be mosquitoes, houseflies. Okay, then if not vectors, they can directly also spread from person to person while coughing, while sneezing, or using using the same utensils or clothes from the infected person. Only few diseases, not all the diseases, only few will be spread from infected clothes or utensils like that. So by any reason, by any means, they can transfer directly through air also, through aerial drops or nasal drops and all. They will be spreading to different people. So examples of communicable diseases. So remember these examples for communicable diseases. Tuberculosis, TB is tuberculosis, cholera, typhoid, measles, polio, malaria, dengue, chickenpox. So these are the few examples of communicable diseases that spread. So how will be how these are prevented? So these are prevented by using vaccines, hygiene and vector control. So vaccines are something that we take from childhood to prevent diseases, to get immunity from the immunity for different diseases. Then hygiene is something we have to maintain, because houseflies, we discussed just now, houseflies cause contamination of food and water. So if we need to avoid that, we should maintain appropriate hygiene. And vector control also, controlling mosquitoes. Okay, staying away from this kind of vectors is very important to avoid all these diseases. So the examples for non-communicable diseases are anemia, okay, scurvy, cancer, okay, asthma. All these are examples, and they don't spread from person to person. It is because of individual's disorder. Okay, there is no microbe which spreads from one person to another person. It is merely the individual's personal body which has deficiency or excess of something, because of which the non-communicable disease will be coming to people. Next, food preservatives. Among food preservatives, pasteurization is only one concept which was asked in previous year questions, and the others were not focused much actually. So what is pasteurization? We discussed who discovered pasteurization, who bought the concept of pasteurization, how they did, all that. So it is heating milk at 70 degrees Celsius for 15 to 30 seconds. It is just this much. Okay, so then rapid cooling, so kills pathogens without boiling the milk. So when milk is heated at this at these conditions, it kills only the harmful pathogens, whereas it doesn't spoil the milk. So after that, okay, it will be prevented from the attack of microbes. So these are few plant and animal diseases which we need to remember. Okay, The memory based questions will be appearing from the diseases of plants and animals which are caused by microorganisms. So citrus canker, one commonly disease that is asked in examination, caused by bacteria. Okay, it affects lemon, orange. Okay, transmitted by wind. Then rust of wheat. Okay, so it is caused by fungus. So reddish brown powdery patches. These are the symptoms that will be seen in with the disease of rust of wheat. Then yellow mosaic is one more, okay, caused by virus. So anthrax is one disease which is given here, which is an animal disease caused by Bacillus anthracis or bacterium. So these are few facts and statements that we need to remember: the causative organism and what it causes, and to which organism it causes. Is it to plant or animal? That also we should know. So we should remember all this. There is no much concept to be discussed here. Just remembering the microbes and their causative their diseases that they cause. Then antibiotic misuse, this is related to health. It's not so important here. Yeah, so we'll move. So these are the few areas where CTET will be asking questions based on memory, the factual level questions. So we just discussed few of them: the bacterial diseases, and which the viral diseases, then protozoan diseases. What are those diseases and what organisms carry them, and they act as vectors. So let us solve few questions in order to understand how questions are being asked. I said factual level questions and memory level questions are being asked from this sub concept. Okay, subtopic. So let us see what kind of questions. Okay, let us understand them by solving some previous year questions. So first question: malaria is caused by A. Okay, malaria is caused by, that means malaria is caused by which causative organism? So is it virus? Is it protozoa? Is it fungus? Or is it bacterium? It is protozoan. Okay, plasmodium. Plasmodium is protozoan which causes malaria. So what is the vector for it? It is a mosquito. So that is about malaria causative organism. Next, let us move to one more question. So which set comprises only diseases caused by a virus? So they are asking us to identify a set of diseases which are caused by only virus. Comprises only diseases caused by viruses. So is it tuberculosis, measles, cholera and polio, or is it hepatitis A, measles, polio, chickenpox? Is it cholera, typhoid, polio and tuberculosis, or is it cholera, typhoid? So cholera and typhoid, we discussed, they are bacterial diseases and caused by contamination of food and water. So definitely wherever cholera is there, you can just eliminate. Okay, then here also cholera is there. So second option, hepatitis A, measles, polio, chickenpox. So all these are caused by virus and these are viral diseases. Hepatitis A, measles and all. So rest of them are different. So 1, 3, 4 all have diseases that are caused by bacteria. Let us move forward to one more question. So which set represents only communicable diseases? Now they are asking only communicable diseases. Communicable diseases means the diseases that are caused by microorganisms and that spread from one person to other person, that spread from infected person to the healthy person. So what are the communicable diseases here? So diabetes, typhoid, malaria. So diabetes, it is because of deficiency of it is because of insulin. Okay, insulin production, if it is not appropriate, it is because of unregulated blood sugar levels, diabetes will come. So that is wrong. Then anemia, scurvy. Okay, so definitely no, it's because of some disorders and deficiencies. Okay, whereas the cholera is communicable disease. Then let us see third option, typhoid, malaria, okay, anemia and swine flu. Then typhoid, swine flu, malaria and polio. Okay, the answer is 3, anemia. Just a minute. I think the screen is stuck. Yeah. So typhoid, swine flu and malaria and polio. This is the answer. So all are communicable diseases. So here anemia is something that is not communicable disease. Okay, rest all are non-communicable diseases. Next, pasteurization of milk involves heating of milk at what temperature? Okay, pasteurization of milk involves heating to what temperature? Is it 100 degrees Celsius for 1 minute? Is it 70 degrees Celsius for 15 to 30 seconds? Or is it 121 degrees or 50 degrees? We just now discussed it is 70 degrees for up to 15 to 30 seconds. Then rapid cooling should happen. So fourth question, okay. Yeah, this is the answer. Next, let us move to one more question. So from the list, yeast, okay, the parasites are, okay, from the list, so they gave a list: yeast, bedbugs, leeches, cuscuta, algae, lice, mushrooms, lichens. The parasites are, so they gave a list and they are asking us to identify the parasites from the list. So different organisms are given here and they are asking us to identify the parasites. So what are parasites? Parasites are those organisms which depend on other organisms for the nutrition purpose. So in this kind of relationship, parasitism, only one organism is benefited, whereas other gets harmness. Okay, they get harmed. So one gets all the benefits with nutrient benefits they'll get. So let us identify. So which one? Okay, bed bugs. Yeast is a fungi which actually helps in fermentation and all. And leech is one more. Cuscuta is a parasitic plant. Leech is parasites in animals. Bed bugs are also parasites in animals. Okay, algae is photosynthetic in nature, so it is not. Then lice on the head are also parasitic in nature. Mushrooms and lichens. So mushroom is also fungi, and lichens is a symbiotic relationship that will have. So what are the parasites here? Bed bugs, leeches, cuscuta, and lice. So wherever these options are present, that is the right answer. See, bedbugs, leeches, cuscuta, and lice. So others are not parasites because lichens will be present in a symbiotic relationship where both the organisms will be benefited from each other. Yeah. So these are some of the questions that were asked in examination. So if you see all of them mostly testing the memory based knowledge. So factual level, memory level questions will be asked from this, entirely from the diseases and causative organism, vectors, okay, identifying communicable diseases. All these are the part of harmful microorganisms, and these how questions will be asked. So we have to remember the diseases and the related microorganisms, especially from the context of these microorganisms and harmful microorganisms. So even in part 1 also we discussed about useful microorganisms. There also mostly factual level questions will be asked. The memory level questions will be asked regarding the uses of microorganism and which organism is useful in which way. Okay, for fermentation, which one under what conditions. So all these kind of questions will be there from this topic. So before we go, some commonly asked and tested facts. These are malaria, okay, related to malaria, plasmodium and protozoan. So malaria is a disease, okay. Plasmodium is the protozoan that causes malaria, okay. Plasmodium is the protozoan itself, a type of protozoa that causes malaria. Then dengue is equal to virus, okay. So dengue is caused by virus. So its vector is female Aedes mosquito. Then plant diseases are, citrus hunker, then rust of wheat, okay, bindi mosaic, all these are plant based diseases. Then pasteurization, remember this, at 70 degrees Celsius for 15 to 30 seconds. So non-communicable diseases are those diseases that do not won't spread from person to person, okay, and they are caused by deficiencies or deficiency disorders. Then parasites are those organisms which depend on other organisms for the purpose of nutrition without helping the host organism. Okay, those are the parasites. Few are anyway examples are given and we also solved in the question. So these are a few facts to be remembered from this chapter, that is microorganisms friend and foe. So this is about microorganisms, the harmful microorganisms, what are the harmful microorganisms and which diseases they are causing. Okay, one aspect to be concentrated, and which are those scientists who identified microorganisms that are useful, and which are the vectors that are causing different diseases, which are those specific vectors that that carry malaria or dengue. So these are the questions, these are the kind of questions that were being asked from this microorganism. So with this we'll conclude this session, and we'll be completing this microorganisms chapter also. So prepare accordingly. Mostly the fact based and memory based questions will be asked from this chapter. So we'll conclude and thank you.